Out for a second. It is just about almost 5 a.m. Friday morning, and it is the 28th of June. Hope everyone is having a good morning so far. Or if you're in another part of the world, excuse me, guys, I hope you're having a good day. So, we're continuing with the Tao Te Ching, and we're reading from Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which is an interpretation offered by Dr. Wayne Dyer, best-selling author all through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s. Passed away in 2015. Um, Wonderful following along with his journey from the 70s when he was a self-help, self-realization author, almost along the lines of the looking out for number one type of 70s bestseller. Very much influenced by Abraham Maslow at the time. As a matter of fact, he was a student of Abraham Maslow. However, as he watched his life and his writing progress, and of course I was too young at the time to fully understand that, you saw the life of spirit take over more and more until eventually it was just all of surrender. And he was writing about living the Tao. His interpretation of the Tao Te Ching is change your thoughts, change your life. Not a translation, but an interpretation. So we're on verse 29, and let's dive right in, guys. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. Everything under heaven is a sacred vessel, sorry guys, and cannot be controlled. Trying to control leads to ruin. Trying to grasp, we lose. Allow your life to unfold naturally. Know that it is too a vessel of perfection. Just as you breathe in and breathe out. There is a time for being ahead and a time for being behind. A time for being in motion and a time for being at rest. A time for being vigorous and a time for being exhausted. A time for being safe and a time for being in danger. To the sage, all of life is a movement towards perfection. So what need has he for the excessive, the extravagant, or the extreme? I absolutely love this verse. So far, in our journey through the Tao Te Ching, and for me, it's been a journey since 1981. I was given a copy of Alan Watts' The Watercourse Way, the Tao, The Watercourse Way, by a girlfriend's mother. I was 16 years old. Little did I know that even as the girlfriend broke up with me, that little act of kindness from her mom inspired a lifetime of fascination, living, wishing to be expressed by the Tao. Big Bro Turtle. Man, I love that name. Big Boy Turtle. Hello, my friend. Sada says hi. Castu gives me a wave. Hello, my friend. Sada says hello. Hello, my friend. Leon. My homies. Don't know what that means, but welcome, my friend. Sadi says English or Spanish. I always go with Spanish. I can't speak Spanish, which is the reason why I always pick it when someone offers it. Because it just extends that welcomeness to the things that I don't know and the things that I don't understand. Big Boy Turtle says, can you pray for me, please? I certainly can, my friend. Sending prayers your way, sending energy, and sending nothing but love. Nothing but love for you, my friend. Sadia says, hi. Hello, my friend. So this is such an important verse. Verse 29 in the Tao Te Ching. To the sage, this is the last part. As always, Lao Tzu just sums it up so succinctly, so perfectly. To the sage, all of life is a movement towards perfection. So what need has he for the excessive, the extravagant, or the extreme? And what he's saying, Lao Tzu was saying, everything in life has its moment and then moves on. And then has its moment and then moves on, and then has its moment and then moves on. How are we to know how it plays out? We can't, we don't. So we simply accept, we allow. Here's the things about here's the thing about acceptance and allowing. It calls for the naturalness of the movement, and maybe that moment calls for action. So we give ourselves to the action. Maybe it calls for stillness, so we give ourselves to stillness. But we're always projecting in the future, if we're always fearful of the past, anxiety due to the past, we don't act naturally. We don't act what the moment calls for. We act what we think it calls for. So we just surrender and surrender, continuing to surrender. Our friend Eric LaPointe is here. Good morning, Eric. Let's see. Donkey says, you want to build a snowman, come out the door. We use the best booties and we are not. I wish you would tell me why do you want to build a snowman if it doesn't have to be a snowman? It's a good question. It doesn't have to be a snowman, does it? Let's see. Seppi says, hello. Any new, may I have a free reading, please? Just like, I appreciate that. So we're actually going to do one more reading, not from the Tao Te Ching, but from a poem that very nicely, poetically, beautifully sums up. And this is for my gardening friends. This is for my tree trimming friends. This is for my friends who are out in nature and know the ways of working with nature. Let's see. Dutchman says, you sad? No, not really. But thanks. So this is from Naomi Long, Madget. And it's a beautiful poem. And it's about our desire to live naturally. I wouldn't coax the plant if I were you. Such watchful nurturing may do it harm. Let the soil rest from so much digging, and wait until it's dry before you water it. The leaf's inclined to find its own direction. Give it a chance to seek the sunlight for itself. Much growth is stunted by too careful prodding, too eager tenderness. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. Man, how beautiful is that? The things we love, we have to leave alone. That doesn't mean that we don't cherish it, that we don't love it, that we don't offer it at all. It means that we know it has its own way, and we trust. We trust in the Tao. We trust in the way of the universe. We trust in our own naturalness. Bush Camp Dad. All right, guys. I will accept you at your word. Bush Camp Dad. I can't argue that logic. Let's see. Thoughts on circumcision. You know what? I never thought about it, honestly, one way or the other. I'll have to give it some thought. I don't know as it's necessary. What do you think? What type of music do you like? I love all types of music. That was from Kristen Castro. But in the past few years, I've been really diving into mostly jazz. A bit crazy. I like that. Says hello. Hello, my friend. McCrazy says, English or Spanish? You know what? I'm getting that question a lot. And as I mentioned above, I just keep choosing Spanish because I don't know Spanish. And I want to choose the things that I am unfamiliar with. I want to choose the things that I don't know in order so that the very least I can say I don't know. But I'm willing to be open to the fact that I don't know. But Crazy says, cool, very cool. Thank you, my friend. Luke says, I think it should be up to the child when they're of age. You know what? I agree. Or even later, you know, whatever that age might be. When we think about it, it is it necessary for health? I don't know. I would look it up, but then I would have to spend a lot of time reading about circumcision, and I don't know as I want to, honestly. As I'm not in that situation where I have to choose any longer. Who says, I personally think It goes against the person's choices, bodily uh, um, anatomy. I agree. And it's a medical unnecessary. Well, thank you for that. Most developed countries do not practice it. All right. So it's not a medical necessity. So then why do it? Except for, as who said, social norms, which is just a paradigm. And it doesn't have to be. We don't have to keep going by the same paradigms that we've been given. We get to make our own, guys. Luke says, I think a high percentage chooses circumcised for religious beliefs. And that seems, again, we're back to paradigm, religious beliefs. Do we have to have the same religious beliefs as our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents? Doesn't mean that the basics of it, you think of instructions in the Bible on what fabrics to wear, of what to eat and what not to eat. And they were based upon the living conditions at the time. How much else was based upon living conditions at the time? How much else was based upon tribal necessities that are no longer part of our everyday life? Probably all of it, quite a bit of it. However, the essence of the teaching is what matters. We can still live those essence. Who says everyone should have a choice in his opinion? I agree. Eric Point says makes sense. Who would have thought when I woke up at 2:30 that at 5 a.m. I would be having a very intelligent conversation on circumcision? That's the mystery of life, guys. If I had woken up and said, man, today I got to talk about circumcision, I might have gone back to bed. But when we embrace, it's just going to be a mystery. I don't know, and I don't know. It turns out perfectly, doesn't it? Maybe not the way we want it, but perfect nonetheless. Let's see. Luke says they say it's healthier to circumcise, but they also say you have to clean the genitals more thoroughly when they're not. Yeah, that makes sense. Luke says they should also say it's easier to contract diseases, but the child should be able to choose at that point. Interesting. Jordan says, can you ban me? Probably. I do have that authority, but I won't. Mainly because I'm lazy. I got to reach all the way over there to the button. I got to look it up. I got to do all kinds of unnecessary work. And my own natural innate laziness says, I just don't feel like it. But you know what? Maybe later in the day when I have more energy, we'll see how it works out. Berkeley Point says, I was thinking the same thing, Yogi. Yeah, well, to be honest, who wakes up in the morning and say, hey, man, this is a perfect day to talk about circumcision? I hope someone brings it up. The truth is, it's been a great conversation. Big Up says, are you black? I am not black, but you know what? My ex-wife is black. I guess technically, someone would say her father was black, her mother's white. So technically, someone might say she's half black, but she's black. When you're black, you're black. I am not. Luke says, I often think it would result in less botched circumcision. You know what? I actually read, I'm trying to think of the book that I was reading. It was a book dealing with A Course in Miracles, and it was talking about a botched circumcision. And I just cringe. I cringe when I think about that. There but the steadiness of my surgeon's hands goes every single one of us, guys. Geez. I just don't know, unless it's 100% necessary, should anyone take a scalpel to that area? Not if I can help it. I'm a peaceful guy. I'm a yogi. I practice ahimsa, non-harm. If you got a scalpel in your hand and you're going to that part of my anatomy, it ain't gonna happen, guys. Luke says, but she's black. She is. And I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say other, not to her twin sister too. I don't know if I ever mentioned to you guys that Milka has a identical twin sister. Big says, have a good night, brother. You too, my friend. Um, with that, guys, I'm going to head out and take my morning walk. Um, promises to be a beautiful morning. And you know what? If the rest of my day stays as interesting as this conversation's been, it's going to be an awesome day. Let's see. Who says you have any tips on living with a toxic, um, abusive family members? Man, that's tough. Tips. You know what? I always go back to, in A Course in Miracles, it urges us to not to seek to change the world or our family or our circumstances, as that may be, but to seek how we perceive the world or our family or our circumstances. We can't change a toxic or abusive family member. We can't. We can't get into their heads and remove the toxic thoughts. We can't get into their heart and remove the toxic behavior. We can't talk them out of it. We can't physically change them from doing that. But we can change our own response. We can go from being reactionary to responsive. We can just keep working on our own peacefulness. We can stay heart-centered. We can keep returning to the heart. We can, in every moment, say, I can choose peace over this. It's not easy, but it's the only way to do it. If you want a peaceful life, if you want a peaceful family, if you want a peaceful atmosphere, you're not going to change anyone, but you can change yourself. And when you're living in that type of peace, things begin changing on their own. People begin changing because they know they're not getting that reaction from you. They're not getting that response from you. So it's always about us. It's never about the other person. When Ramana Maharshi was asked, how do we treat others? How do we react to others? How do we respond to others? And he had smiled and said, there are no others. This is why in Wayne Dyer that we read today, his interpretation on how to live the Tao Te Ching, the name of the book is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. That's all we can do. Noodle, Night Watcher, my friend, I hope you're feeling good. Night Watcher has Minecraft up and running. Awesome. Good to see you, Night Watcher. Luke says really good advice. Thank you, Luke. Who says have a great walk? Thank you, my friend. Eric Point says another great live. Thank you, guys. Very much appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of your day, or if it's a different time in the world, have a good evening. Take care, guys.